In the vast tapestry of the Horus Heresy, it is crucial to recognise that forces beyond the Space Marines played pivotal roles. Despite the Space Marines' prominence, the Imperial Army, consisting of countless unaugmented soldiers, vastly outnumbered them. Among these forces, the Solar Auxilia emerged as the elite cadre, standing out as the best trained and equipped soldiers within the Imperial Army. Proficient in both ground and void combat, they are celebrated not only for their combat prowess, but also for their unwavering reliability. Were it not for the Legions Astartes, the Solar Auxilia would proudly hold the title of the Imperium's finest soldiers. Within the expansive array of regiments and battalions constituting the Exertus Imperialis, commonly known as the Imperial Army, the Solar Auxilia stood out as one of the most elite, disciplined, and well-equipped fighting forces during the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy eras in the late 30th and 31st millennia. Renowned for their military effectiveness, the Solar Auxilia were often considered second only to the superhuman Legions Astartes in battle prowess. While certain units and regiments like the legendary Lucifer Blacks or the gene-wrought Marnian Armsmen might be singled out for exceptional skill, power and reputation, what distinguished the Solar Auxilia was their systemic approach. Unlike singular regiments tied to specific cultures or displaced from warlike compliant worlds, the Solar Auxilia represented a replicable pattern, a culture of warfare and an order of battle successfully implemented on numerous worlds. This adaptability made Solar Auxilia cohorts and regiments the backbone of the Imperium's military forces post the Great Crusade's initiation. While the Legions Astartes Space Marines took the forefront as standard bearers and unstoppable strength, the Solar Auxilia played a crucial role as indispensable pathfinders and reliable foot soldiers. As the Imperium expanded across thousands of worlds, the Solar Auxilia became its primary defense against external threats and internal disturbances, embodying the first line of protection for the Imperium. The roots of the Solar Auxilia extend back to the Sol system and Terra during the earliest days of the Great Crusade, as implied by their name. Recognizing that the vastness of the Crusade, aiming to liberate the entire galaxy, demanded more than the formidable Legions Astartes alone could accomplish, the Emperor envisioned a broader force. The Exertus Imperialis, or Imperial Army, emerged, a colossal assembly of second-line troops, support personnel, labourers, void crews, logisticians, and various specialists, along with the requisite weaponry, equipment, war machines, void conveyances, and warships. Within this vast structure, meticulously organised by the Emperor's transhuman intellect, specialised divisions arose, each designed for a distinct purpose. The Solar Auxilia was one such purpose-crafted division. Its mandate was clear: raise a sizable force of frontline soldiers specialised in void and hostile environments. Their role was to support the Legions Astartes in battle, freeing them for concentrated frontline operations. While the Space Marines served as the Crusade's primary hammer, the Solar Auxilia functioned as its pathfinders and watchmen. The Solar Auxilia were tasked with garrisoning warships and frontier outposts, serving alongside rogue traders and expeditionary fleets as both aggressors and explorers. Discipline, training, and equipment set them apart from average militia soldiers. Once an area achieved compliance, the Solar Auxilia, with their fleets and assigned warships, assumed the duty of guarding newly acquired worlds and star systems from external threats and internal rebellions. While a Solar Auxilia task force couldn't match the might of the Legions Astartes, these compact fleet-based armies excelled at handling petty wars and local conflicts. If faced with a threat beyond their capability, they were conditioned to tenaciously hold the line until aid could be summoned, and the Emperor's Angels of Death, the Legions Astartes, could be unleashed against the transgressors. In devising the strategic structure and organisation for the Solar Auxilia, the Emperor drew inspiration from two primary sources: the formidable military forces of the Unification Wars of Terra and the Saturnyne Ordo. Terra, entrenched in warfare for millennia, provided a rich source of knowledge that influenced the structure and tactics of the Emperor's armies. However, it was the highly militarized tech enclaves of Saturn that played a pivotal role in shaping the nature of the Solar Auxilia. The polities of Saturn, formed during the tumultuous Age of Strife, comprised of independent domains and kingdoms scattered across asteroid enclaves, orbital arcologies, and lunar colonies around the gas giant Saturn. Despite internal conflicts, they united against external threats, such as the influence of Mars or the depredations of Xenos and mutant raiders. The Saturnyne Ordo, their elite armed forces, possessed unparalleled expertise in void warfare, honing weapons and tactics for centuries before even the arrival of the Legions Astartes. The military strength of the polities of Saturn, boasting the most powerful fleet in the Sol system before unification, and the prowess of the Saturnyne Ordo were crucial to the early years of imperial expansion during the Great Crusade. It is argued that the true commencement of the Crusade occurred when the polities of Saturn willingly joined the Imperium, providing fleets, orbital shipyards, and void expertise that facilitated the rapid expansion of the Imperium. The Solar Auxilia found its origin in this alliance. The first 10 regiments, collectively known as the Saturnyne Rams, were essentially the void hoplites of this Saturnyne order, reorganized and expanded, with their arms and armament almost unchanged. These regiments, along with subsequent ones raised on Terra and Luna, followed the proven pattern of weaponry and equipment derived from Saturnyne prototypes. The Mechanicum approved, modified, and mass-produced these assets, including the distinctive and robust Saturnyne Void Armor, which became a defining feature of the Solar Auxilia throughout the Great Crusade. In addition to this wargear, the Solar Auxilia incorporated variant weapons and equipment designed for hazardous environments and void use by unaugmented humans. Known as Solar Pattern, these additions received designation from the Mechanicum, aligning with the Solar Auxilia forces for which they were intended. As the Great Crusade unfolded, the Solar Auxilia emerged as a formidable and cohesive military force, repeatedly proving its effectiveness in the face of strategic challenges posed by the expanding expeditionary fleets and the territories they conquered. The rising demand for Solar Auxilia regiments surpassed the capabilities of the Sol system alone, leading to the utilization of the Solar Auxilia pattern as a template elsewhere in the Imperium. This resulted in the establishment of regiments and larger cohort formations across the galaxy. Many of these formations were created around corps composed of experienced junior officers and non-commissioned ranks from existing regiments. Such raisings were prevalent in star systems with a tradition of void-capable military and privateer forces. In numerous instances, these regiments played a crucial role in assimilating such cultures into the Imperium, particularly in cases where armed conflict was necessary to achieve Imperial compliance. Solar Auxilia cohorts were typically deployed far from their origin stars, intentionally severing ties with their homeworlds to mitigate the potential for later rebellion. While this practice was not unique, Solar Auxilia regiments also successfully recruited from feral and feudal worlds, lacking advanced technology or void-operable traditions. Mental and physical aptitude tests became instrumental in this wider recruitment effort, alongside more conventional regimental raisings. The most successful of these cohorts blended the ferocity and courage often found on warlike worlds with the discipline and firepower for which the Solar Auxilia was renowned, creating a lethal combination. Notable examples include the Chthonian headhunters accompanying the 63rd Expeditionary Fleet of Warmaster Horus, and the Caractal Scarborn, who achieved legendary status as the only non-Legions Astartes force to survive the Crave onslaught at Perdition's Gate. As the second century of the Great Crusade unfolded, Solar Auxilia pattern forces accounted for approximately 20 to 25% of the Imperialis Auxilia's overall human strength in void-faring first-line armies, numbering in the tens of millions. By the time of the Horus Heresy, this force was strategically divided, with about 2/3 of Solar Auxilia cohorts stationed permanently within the Imperium, serving in task force and garrison commands. The remaining third operated in various expeditionary fleets, rogue trader detachments, and deep-range pathfinder ships on the expanding and increasingly remote frontier. Given their ability to operate independently with few ties to home, smaller expeditionary fleets without substantial Legions Astartes presence often featured a corps of Solar Auxilia led by a Lord Marshal appointed by the Imperial War Council. The Lord Marshals held formidable power and authority, with the most senior among them, the Lords Militant Imperialis, shaping the future Imperial commanders and granting even warrants of trade to new rogue traders from their ranks. The allure of absolute power over entire worlds under the Aquila made commissions of rank within Solar Auxilia cohorts destined for the frontier highly sought after by ambitious officers, petty nobles, and scions of great houses of terror. Whether earned through merit or acquired by more direct means, the harsh realities of battle and uncharted alien worlds often swiftly separated those whose ambition outweighed their aptitude. For the lower ranks, service offered more prosaic yet valuable incentives, fine living standards, pay, and the Imperium's respect for their sacrifice. Upon retiring, if they survived after a minimum tour of 30 standard years service, they received full citizenship, along with land, money and position in a newly founded or compliant colony world. Those who chose multiple tours found greater rewards, receiving basic anti-agathic and Medicaid treatments to extend their lifespans and military usefulness. Throughout its existence, the Solar Auxilia remained a seasoned body of professional soldiers, equipped and trained to the highest standards of the Imperium's human forces, serving as a keystone in the remarkable progress of the Great Crusade. As per the standards of the Officio Militaris of Terra, the Solar Auxilia cohorts stand as the quintessential heavy void infantry formation within the Exertus Imperialis. Their comprehensive training and equipment make them adept at engaging in void war zones, navigating hazardous planetary environments, and seamlessly transitioning between void and ground operations in combat conditions. Additionally, they excel in heavily contested boarding actions. In the initial stages, early Solar Auxilia forces adhered to the typical Principia Bellicosa mandated regimental structure, consisting of approximately 5,000 soldiers commanded by a legate colonel, accompanied by a dedicated staff and discipline cadre of around 300 officers and specialists. However, with the Great Crusade progressing into its expansion phase and the increasing prominence of the Solar Auxilia in the broader war effort, the Officio Militaris High Command reorganized them into larger, highly autonomous cohort formations known as Solar Cohorts. These Solar Cohorts, inspired by structures from elite forces during the Wars of Unification and the organizational elements of nascent Space Marine legions, were designed to be highly compartmentalized. A Solar Cohort at muster would form a nominal fighting force of 120,000 individuals, supported by several thousand additional staff of various types permanently attached to the unit. The entire cohort would be under the command of a Marshal Solar. The cohort further divided into sub-cohorts, each led by a legate commander, or sub-commander based on seniority and the sub-cohort's type. The tactical foundation of the Solar Cohort is the Tercio, a formation comprising of 3 sections of Solar Auxilia, each defined by its weaponry and battlefield role. Tercios could be assembled and deployed in various ways and numbers to meet specific strategic needs. The most common Tercio formation was the Infantry Tercio, composed of 3 las rifle sections, each with 20 void-armoured las rifle equipped infantrymen, led by a junior officer. In addition to infantry tercios, elite Veletaris tercios existed, featuring 3 squads of 10 veteran troopers armed with augmented short-range weapons, and also fire support tercios, commanding 3 batteries of 3 crew-served infantry support weapons platforms, with the tracked rapier type being the most prevalent. Each tercio operated as a self-contained unit, with every auxilia within the tercios undergoing training not only as frontline soldiers, but also acquiring skills in voidcraft, fundamental combat engineering, hostile environmental survival, and basic planetary exploration protocols. This unique combination of capabilities has distinguished the Solar Auxilia as an elite force within the Imperium's human soldiery since the early days of the Great Crusade, instilling great pride within their ranks. The tactical doctrine of the Solar Auxilia evolved organically through operations during the Great Crusade, shaped by the unique environments they commonly operated in and the distinctive qualities of their arms and equipment. Mastery of void armor was a prerequisite for every member of the Solar Auxilia, emphasizing the importance of skill and aptitude. Coordination and discipline were deemed paramount, especially given the critical nature of void ship operations where breaches of discipline could swiftly lead to disaster. In void warfare, discipline was doubly crucial. Failure to meet these standards in training resulted in reassignment to naval ratings or less selective auxilia formations. Active service infractions were harshly punished, and those failing in battle faced summary execution by their officers. The coherence and discipline of the Solar Auxilia formed the foundation of their principal tactics: close order formations in open field warfare and within the confines of a zone mortalis, emphasizing concentration of firepower and stubborn defense. Aggressive defense strategies involved seizing superior defensive ground, inviting enemy attacks on preferred terms, employing feigned retreats to lure opponents into prepared fire zones, and executing slow, rolling advances under close armoured and air support, facilitated by mechanized transportation. Asymmetric lightning assaults were also common, involving massed forces targeting a divided portion of an enemy line to achieve localized victory while minimizing losses. These tactics were enabled by the discipline and sophistication of the Solar Auxilia cohort's armaments, originating from their roles as long-range pathfinder units for explorator and expeditionary forces, as well as rapid response forces. In these roles, the Solar Auxilia often operated alone and outnumbered, facing unknown terrain and potentially unknown enemies. The famed discipline and ability to hold the line in such circumstances were not merely displays of martial prowess, but essential survival traits. On alien worlds or within the hulls of enemy warships, breaking and fleeing held no purpose when there was no safe haven, and doing so spelled doom for oneself and comrades alike. One of the distinctive features that set the Solar Auxilia apart within the broader Exertus Imperialis and Imperialis Auxilia was their unique arsenal of war, shaped by their history and role in the Imperium's vast war machine. The hallmark piece of war gear for a Solar Auxilia member is their void armor, a carapace reinforced, full environmental combat body armor, featuring a fully integrated life support unit. Known as Solar Pattern, this void armor is a mass-produced modification of the ancient void armor worn by the void hoplites of the Saturnyne ordo. It is fully sealed, capable of resisting small arms fire, ballistic impacts, shock trauma, and self-healing against minor penetrations and lacerations. Highly resilient against radiation and thermal effects, it excels in various hostile environments, including the open void. While efficient and durable, Void armor is not comparable in durability or sophistication to Legion's Astartes power armor. Complementing their advanced armor, Solar Auxilia wield the Calibrax V1 pattern las rifle, distinguished by heavily reinforced energy transfer capacitors, superior durability, and efficient heat dissipation. Notable for its adaptability, it easily accommodates modifications such as bolt collimator arrays and induction blast charges without compromising its integrity. Historically, the Solar Auxilia favoured directed energy weapons for light support and specialised roles, including flamers, melters, multi-lasers, and las cannons, due to their suitability for void combat and ease of maintenance. While Volkite weapons were once standard issue, their use dwindled over time, becoming a rarity reserved for the elite Velataris units. Carrying a Volkite weapon became a mark of distinction among the Solar Auxilia, with these prized weapons passed down through the ranks. Officers within the Solar Auxilia possessed highly idiosyncratic personal arms, allowing each officer to furnish their own weaponry. This led to considerable variation and competition among officers, with various forms of swords commonly regarded as the mark of an officer. Dueling between officers of similar rank, both for sport and matters of honour, with commanding officers' permission, was permitted within certain parameters. The Terran charnable sabre was the most common implement for such duels, and the training and skill it encouraged were seen as beneficial to both the individuals and the cohorts they served. Every Solar Auxilia cohort was designed to function as a self-contained force, organised and equipped with additional infrastructural support tailored to its assigned role. Depending on their duties, cohorts typically operated as a mechanised force during exploration or open warfare, employing heavy all-environment armoured transports as mounts and rally points for their troops. The most prevalent vehicle for ground transport was the Dracosan armoured transport, capable of carrying entire las rifle sections in one vehicle. It boasted significantly more armour and inherent radiation and alchemical protection than the Rhino. Its life support system had greater endurance, ensuring resilience in various environments. The Solar Auxilia relied on a specific armoured variant of the Arvus Lighter as their primary aerial support transport. This robust and reliable orbital interference craft, with a design predating the Imperium's founding, served various roles such as troop transport, reconnaissance, supply conveyance, and even impromptu gunship duties. Given the Solar Auxilia's close association with void warfare and orbital assault, naval support was integral to their operations. The cohorts had their own cadre of pilots and void ratings, integrated into the cohort's chain of command, facilitating seamless operation. Notably, Solar Auxilia cohorts stationed on ships of the line utilised specially modified shark pattern boarding rams for void assault actions, a formidable capability typically associated with the mighty Legion's Astartes. The Solar Auxilia cohorts extensively utilised support armour and mobile artillery units designed for void and hostile environment operations, featuring radiological shielding and internal life support systems. This arsenal included advanced Mars Solar pattern Leman Russ battle tanks, swifter and more sophisticated than common counterparts. Semi-automata variant Basilisk and Medusa artillery tanks were mounted on the same environmentally sealed Leman Russ chassis, providing versatile fire support. Routine deployment of prefabricated defence works was a hallmark of Solar Auxilia cohorts, fortifying encampments and outposts as part of their standard operating procedure, developed through extensive deployments on unknown worlds. Most Solar Auxilia cohorts featured at least one fully equipped super heavy armour sub-cohort, with various general battle units like the Malkador and the Baneblade. Specialised vehicles such as the Shadow Sword and Storm Hammer were also included. Notably, more specialised siege formations, including static artillery batteries, were rarely part of a cohort's regular order of battle. Strategic Command, during the Great Crusade, deemed siege duty and attrition warfare inefficient for the Solar Auxilia's unique capabilities, leaving such tasks to more specialised formations within the Exertus Imperialis. The Solar Auxilia cohorts typically display the colours of their specific cohort's livery. These colours defining the cohort may be inspired by the culture of its homeworld, or earned over years of dedicated service to the Imperium. Proudly featured on banners and uniforms, these colours evoke a sense of immense pride among the warriors as they carry them into battle. The Solar Auxilia cohorts are distinguished by a combination of heraldry and a numeral, typically used by only a limited family of cohorts simultaneously. Examples include names like the Lord Marshal's Own, the Ash Scorpions, or the Gatekeepers. In instances where a cohort has significant ties to a specific world, either its homeworld or one under its protection, it may adopt the name and other symbolic icons of that world. The greater orders of battle for the Solar Auxilia encompass a diverse range of force types, typically featuring a cohort centered around infantry and supplemented by various armored units, ranging from self-propelled artillery to super heavy tanks. These extensive documents meticulously address every conceivable contingency the Solar Auxilia might encounter in warfare, even specifying the recommended livery. The armoured vehicles of the Solar Auxilia were predominantly adorned in a pragmatic white-grey, mirroring the surface coating of the formidable warships within the Armada Imperialis Ultima. Diverging from the standard mass-produced war machines of the majority of the Imperial Army, Solar Auxilia vehicles were constructed with superior quality materials, typically reserved for Space Marine Legion war machines. These vehicles were further adorned with fittings and details crafted from semi-precious metals like brass, bronze, or copper, meticulously maintained to shine, even amid accumulated dirt and wear, as a source of pride. Solar Auxilia tank crews were renowned for their meticulous attention to detail, often spending long hours between duties meticulously maintaining their war machines. This practice not only showcased their commitment to excellence, but also served to reveal any microfractures or concealed damage that could compromise the vehicle in hostile environments. This tradition draws inspiration from the pre- and post-battle protocols of the Saturnyne ordo, where warriors engaged in repetitive tasks to focus minds, dissipate tension, and maintain discipline. Also, in addition to their standard appearance, Solar Auxilia armoured vehicles commonly displayed the colours of their cohort's livery. These colours were applied in bands of varying configurations across the sides, prow or turret, further enhancing the visual identity of each cohort's war machines. The inclusion of an axe icon signifies that a vehicle is part of a specialised armoured unit, rather than being individually assigned to support another formation. Meanwhile, the wreath and cruciform veterancy symbol serve as markers designating a command vehicle, indicating the presence of a senior Solar Auxilia tank commander within the cohort. Additionally, an icon featuring a lion with a spear mounted on a shield denotes that a vehicle is permanently attached as armoured support to an elite Veletaris formation. The Solar Auxilia, a formidable force within the Imperium during the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy, represented an elite and disciplined component of the Imperial Army, renowned for their expertise in void warfare and hazardous environments. The Solar Auxilia cohorts were well equipped, boasting advanced armaments and superior vehicles crafted with precision and adorned with semi-precious metals. Displaying exceptional discipline and a unique combination of capabilities, they played a crucial role as pathfinders, frontline soldiers, and guardians in the ever-expanding Imperium, earning recognition for their pivotal contribution to the Great Crusade's progress.